everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered with Lida. We often read immigration headlines for a few seconds and then move on with our day. But for someone else, that headline becomes their everyday life. Over the past couple of weeks, the U.S. Supreme Court's decision regarding temporary protected status, or TPS, has generated a lot of discussion. But today, we don't want to talk about politics or legal arguments. We want to ask a different question. What does uncertainty actually do to a human being? What does it do to someone's family, career, sense of belonging, or ability to plan for the future? Because behind every immigration policy are real people trying to build a life. And I think those human stories deserve just as much attention as the headlines. Our goal today isn't to tell everyone what to think, it's simply to better understand the human experiences behind the complex issues. And today I am with three amazing coaches, and I would love for them to introduce themselves. Maybe we start with Erica. Could you please go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Lida. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Erica Colley. I am a newly credited ICF coach. I met both Lida and Sarah on this journey a year ago, so it's great to be here talking about this important topic. I currently reside in the Midwest area in Michigan, Detroit area, and I'm excited about contributing to this conversation and learning.
Thank you so much. Tara.
Hey everybody, I am Tara Gardner. I am a mindset coach. I also met Sarah and Lida through this journey of coaching. I reside in Palm Bay, Florida. Um, and yeah, I'm just excited to be a part of this conversation as well.
Thank you so much. And Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Staley. Ditto to everything that they said. We met through coaching, and I'm also an ICF accredited coach. In addition to that, I work in organizational development and coaching internally within the HR space at a country club located in Palm Beach, Florida. So I'm really excited to have this conversation and talk about the realities of everything happening around immigration and the impact to both the people as well as the organizational
Thank
side.
you so much, ladies. I'm really happy to have you here today. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Just to give viewers like an idea what we're talking about. So what happened a couple of weeks ago, there is a temporary protected status in US. It's a humanitarian program that allows people from certain countries experiencing war, natural disasters, or other extraordinary conditions to live and work legally in the United States for a limited period of time. But what has happened is that the US Supreme Court allowed the administration to move forward with ending TPS protections for hundreds of thousands of people with legal challenges continue. Also, the legal process isn't necessarily over. Decision has created significant uncertainty for many individuals and families who have built their lives in the United States. Although the legal process necessarily over, the decision has created significant uncertainty for many individuals and family who have built their lives in the United States. And we have heard different stories, people with jobs, children in school, businesses, people who have deep ties to their communities. Now they're facing uncertainties. And today we're not here to debate whether the decision is right or wrong. We as coaches, we want to explore what that uncertainty is going to look like for many people, their families, workplaces, and communities. Maybe we can start with Sarah. I know that you've been very involved with this decision in your organization. Could you please share when you first heard that news, what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, thank you, Lida. And again, thank you for inviting us to talk on this very important topic. Well, first of all, I would say that this news goes back to February or March of last year. These things have been going on continuously for the last year and a half. It's very much been a roller coaster ride for organizations, but also the people and the families being directly impacted by immigration policy and the changes that are happening. The most recent decision was just announced, I believe it was July 2nd. It was Thursday afternoon that it came out. That basically said that the Supreme Court had ruled in favor of the administration's immigration policy efforts, which basically was the final straw in who determines what happens and if they could be stayed or overturned or this or that. With the Supreme Court ruling, it's now official and it's going to stick. So at that point, it really left people in limbo with, okay, when are we going to hear something else? Employers and colleagues of mine were all messaging back and forth on a huge group chat within WhatsApp, as well as email communications, trying to see if anybody's heard something about the date that these work authorizations are going to be revoked, the last day people are allowed to work, because it all centers around conversations that we have to have with these individuals within our organizations that are impacted. And they're difficult decisions because these people are scared. They don't know what to do. And I think that when people hear the words immigration policy or Supreme Court ruling, it's really easy to just think of it as a legal issue or a political debate. But where I sit, and a lot of people sit, especially me as an HR executive, it's really only part of the story. Because every policy, especially as it relates to immigration, it becomes personal to the people that it impacts. And it shows up in the workplace, shows up in conversations between managers and employees, between how colleagues even treat each other because of the stress and uncertainty that they're facing. And it shows up in the families that are wondering what tomorrow is going to look like. So after that announcement came out, that Supreme Court ruling, people didn't know if they were going to get news from DHS or UCIS within a couple hours, within a couple days, within weeks or months. They're just sitting in limbo, wondering what's going to happen, what it means for their families. And the reality is behind every immigration decision, every policy, every ruling that the government makes is a human being, whether it's a coworker, a parent, a neighbor, a friend, trying to build a life and contribute to their community. And that's the conversation, I believe that we're having here today, are those stories, those people that are impacted and what it means for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. What I understood, just to be clear, I'm in Canada, Montreal. I am following the news, but I'm not really in details with the news. As you said, that there is no timeline, there is no exact date that for these people that they know what is the decision. So there is like now for the last week, we've been living in total like uncertainty and stress, right?
So they've actually come out a few days ago with the date of July 10th. So tomorrow is the last date these individuals are authorized to work through, which means as of end of business day tomorrow, the individuals that fall within these parameters have to be terminated. And what does that mean for them? Their livelihood, their ability to support their families, and even what they do next with determining whether to return back to their home country. A lot of these individuals, a lot of the individuals that I've encountered over the last year and a half with these changes, they only know the U.S. I mean, we have multiple individuals affected by tomorrow's date. None of them have family back in their home country of Haiti. None of them have a home. None of them have jobs to go back to, and it's really scary. What is going to happen to them when they get off a plane or off of a bus and they're just standing there with nowhere to go and no means to survive? I can't imagine how scary that would feel.
Exactly. And we're talking about thousands of people. It's not just like hundreds. And as I remember talking to a friend, and we were saying that it might be even millions. So we don't know, right? So thank you so much, Sarah. I'll be back with you in a minute. And I would love to ask the same question from Tara. When you heard that news, what stood out for you the most?
Me, I mean, when I heard that, what sticks out to me is just like you talked about, all of the uncertainty about like what's going to happen. But underlying, when there's uncertainty, it's just fear. It turns into fear for everyone. What am I going to do? It affects relationships. It's going to affect parents and kids, and where everyone's worried. And when you have a society like that, where everyone is on edge, you feel it. It's very thick. It's thick in the workplace when you hear conversations, when you see someone and you're wondering, hey, I wonder, will this affect my friend, or will this affect this person in this department? It's stressful, even if you're not, and I hate to say, even if you're not personally impacted, because I feel like we all are, but even if you don't know someone specifically who this has happened to, and I hate to say it, but yet, right? It's scary.
Thank you so much, Erica.
To
I'd love
piggyback
to
off of
hear.
what Sarah and Tara both said, it's like humanity comes up for me.
Mm,
Whether you, you are directly affected by it, humanly speaking, especially in this country, that is founded, on the precepts of faith and character, you know, building opportunity for people. I mean, that's really the melting pot mantra of the United States. So we're in a very interesting, paradigm, which is really grounded in politics, where humanity, you're seeing the values and the beliefs that have really become, I don't want to say questionable, but really just, you don't want to judge people. But as coaches, our job is really to use curiosity to gain understanding, and really through the lens of engaging the conversation from a place that really puts humanity in the forefront. Because to, have a pro or a negative response to something where, we all experience pain as human beings, and to dismiss what's going on because whatever your narrative is, it really, I think it's opened up my eyes to my own biases, and how, from a coaching practitioner standpoint, how do we really engage the conversation, whether it's organizationally, culturally, socially, to really create a bridge, where people can still have their beliefs and their values, but, it can enlarge their perspective to be impactful in a polarizing conversation that is dominating US and global conversations.
Thank you so
Erica,
much. Mhm.
I
Yeah, go
want to
ahead.
piggyback for a moment because I like a word that she used in there, humanity. And it's so important when you think of humanity to separate empathy from political agreement. Regardless of where someone stands on immigration policy, we can all recognize that uncertainty affects real people. Compassion doesn't require agreement, it just requires recognizing someone's humanity. And that's something huge that's at stake right now. It really is.
That's right.
Thank you so much. And it is very important to, I know, I like the word that you used, Erica. It is a very polarizing topic. I've been reading about it and I've been checking social media contents and I've read a lot of comments. Some people are for the decision and some people are against the decision. And as a coach and as an immigrant and as a human being, I could probably see both point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Right? people are for this decision and why some people are against it. But I don't think any for me, it's just like we cannot be just selectively compassionate against people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Towards people. If we have values and we have morals, it should be towards everyone. And this situation, why it's a bit like, for me, it's strange because those people were not illegally staying in US, right? Those are people that have been in US for years. Probably they have fled the country because of war, because there was a natural disaster somewhere. They had to go to US, but they are legal people. They've been working, they've been contributing to community, they have been paying taxes. So they have been part of the, how to say that, like uh, people who are contributing. They're not just like a burden to the society, right? And let's see if I want to just see the situation through the lens of one of these people. I've been in US, I've been working. I have my kids at school, and one day I wake up and there's this news. And I don't want to talk about like the legal aspects of it, but emotionally. What do you think these people might experience? What happens to someone's when they read those? I know, Sarah, you have like first-hand stories, and maybe you could share that. People out there, they're probably losing their job, people that are terminated because of the legal situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Erica said, and you echoed, it's polarizing. And what's impacted is their sense of belonging, their sense of feeling that they're human like everyone else. This whole situation is very much dehumanizing, and the people impacted don't feel that they belong. They don't feel that they fit or that they're wanted. And to your point, Lida, you mentioned that a lot of these individuals impacted have been here legally, and that's exactly the case. The majority of these individuals have been law-abiding citizens, law-abiding individuals in our country. Okay, they came here by legal means. When people think of immigrants or immigration, I think a lot of people literally think these are individuals that came here on a boat or jumped a fence illegally and came to the U.S. and planted roots, and that's really not the case. That's a jaded perspective to look at it. These individuals impacted, I've got someone that has been here for 24 years that only lived back at home for 3 years. So they left Haiti at the age of 3 and have been here their whole life. They know nothing else. They don't even know what to expect when they have to go back. They have nobody there. They have no family. So it's a very scary situation, and it's very sad. I mean, these are hardworking individuals that aren't just freeloading. They're not committing crimes. These are hardworking people that are incredible people to their core.
Thank you so much. I want to ask Tara, what do you think? Just put yourself in these people's shoes. What do you think it keeps them awake at night?
Knowing whether or not they're going to be, with their family next week, if they're, much less whether they're going to be able to support them, whether they're going to be free, and, or if they're going to be, like Sarah said earlier, dropped off somewhere where they have no family, they have no friends, they have no opportunities when they've been here and worked here all their lives. And for the children of those parents, you know, they, I'm sure, are hearing bits and pieces of it, and the understanding is probably not as much depending on how they're being communicated to about the issue. That is scary on so many levels. Um, and I think one of the things that makes it so dehumanizing, in my opinion, is, when you hear about immigration lately, and I use lately very lightly, is that it is black and white, that if you're an immigrant, you are someone who just, snuck into this country and you don't deserve to be here. And there's so many different levels of immigration. There are people who, came in as asylum seekers. There's people who had the temporary protected status. There's so many different areas, and I think that that's part of what makes it hard for me to watch it on the news sometimes, is because all you hear is these immigrants, these immigrants. You know, my mom is an immigrant. She came here from Jamaica, and I just have so much. I appreciate so much what it has to feel like to leave everything that you know and start over brand new somewhere else and raise your family there. And I could not imagine what it would be like for someone to just say, you can no longer be here after you've built your whole life here, you know? So it's on so many levels. It's sad.
I want to share something personal. I didn't want to go into like personal experiences, but I think it's the right time because I am an immigrant. I came 8 years ago from Iran to Canada. My situation was different. We came here as permanent resident. It was just a very different situation. But what I've been not struggling, but one of the challenges for me is that, okay, I'm gonna leave everything behind. I'm gonna to go to a country with a 5-year-old, and what if it doesn't work? What if um, I don't fit? What if I can't make it? And then am I gonna be able to go back and, just start from where I left? Those are fears for someone who knows they're gonna be safe, right? But I cannot even imagine that one day someone would tell me, Lida, you need to leave. And then these are all like the different aspects of it. But I want to get into like the feeling of identity and belonging to society. Because when I moved to Canada, I wanted to make Canada home. This is my home. And for many of those people, US is the only home they know. And if one day they tell me, "Oh, you're not allowed to stay in your home and you have to go back," uh, for me, it's just devastating, right? And it's super scary. I couldn't even imagine what would happen and how I would react to that. I want to go to Erica. How do you think uncertainty, such this one, would affect your identity or sense of belonging to a country that you've called home for many years?
Well, I mean, it's extremely disruptive, and it really can dismantle who you thought you were in the eyes of a place that you called safe. You called it home, and I think this is a topic where, as coaches, we see the power of influence. And in a time when you can grab information in nanoseconds, many different platforms, where it becomes very important to really begin to question the information that you have. And when you question it, you really engage a conversation that it really reveals a lot about people in leadership. It reveals a lot about people in the workplace. It reveals a lot about society. And if you don't put yourself again to the component of humanity, then it becomes really a game of it can be cruel. Like if someone like me, who my family are also immigrated from Middle Eastern countries, Michigan is highly home to many immigrants. We have the largest Middle Eastern population in the country. And, I hear it, I see it, like, get out, go, leave this country. And so what is country? Is country by what you deem as the majority that should be here based upon surface? Or is it really understanding, what it means to be a citizen of the United States? And that the majority looks different now. And when the majority looks different, fear comes in. And fear has taken over this topic. And it is painted with a brush a very cruel and a very imbalanced picture of what immigration is and what immigration is not, like what you guys have contributed already. And if we, like, very simply as coaches, if we were navigating this from a conversation where there's a CEO of an organization, executive that's coming in who maybe they're excited about this, but they know it's created, a disruption within the workforce. Really the question is, what, tell me, what you know about immigration. What do we know about the preceding administration's policies on immigration? A lot of us are just contributing to a conversation and we don't have information. And when you don't have information, but you have influence, you can be very dangerous. So for us in this capacity, it really comes down to, like, as coaches, because we live and abide by the ICF professional standards of humanity, professionalism, collaboration, and equity. Like, it's really not a time to be angered, because anger is not going to win. Anger is just a fruit of fear. So if we respond as professionals with fear, we're not any different than anyone else, and we're not going to have traction in a conversation where people's lives are at stake for us showing up professionally the way we should show up. So that really is what I have seen through this conversation, is how can it make me better? How can I really lend to a conversation, put my own emotional, like Sarah, wrote a book about emotional intelligence, how to regulate my own emotional intelligence and come to the table inviting everybody, regardless of where they sit on it, whether we agree or disagree, understand their posture, and then work together to really make an impactful difference with this conversation. Because it's, think about it. You may not be an immigrant, but if this can happen now at this time, anything can happen. And there is really no safety when fear is dominating.
I have chills. So you mentioned a few things that actually gives me goosebumps. One, you said that when someone has no information but a lot of influence, it becomes dangerous. That is very true. And unfortunately, I think we're in a time that we are just to justify the decisions that we're making, we are just putting labels on people. And we're not seeing those people as individuals, families, children affected by those decisions, but we just see them as labels. And when you see people as only a label, it's very easy to just ignore what is happening around that decision. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's good to also talk about, let's say that the administration has decided to deport all these people or just end their status and they need to leave the country. But what happens tomorrow to actually the organizations and the workforces that they've had these employees that have been working? What happens? I think that's a very important question to ask here. Sarah, could
That
you
is a real, yeah,
share?
that's a real question. That's a real concern. And by the way, these individuals, they will be deported. I mean, they're not allowed to work after tomorrow. So it's a matter of, okay, am I going to get pulled over? Am I going to get stopped in the grocery store and, just packed up and shipped away? That actually happened to one of our employees' fathers. We have an employee who's worked with us since he was 15. He just recently turned 18. He and his father were on the way to Home Depot one weekend, and he described allegedly being profiled while they were driving, meaning he said they weren't speeding, he said they didn't run any stop signs, they didn't disobey any traffic laws, but they were stopped. And his father was taken and ultimately deported. This just happened within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So you can imagine someone who just turned 18. I mean, yes, that's legally an adult, but they're still very much a child at the same time. They don't know how to support themselves, and you don't expect for your parent that's taken care of you and supported you your whole life to be ripped away from you when you're out and about on the streets. I don't know about you all, but I know over this last year and a half, especially as these announcements have been coming out and then overruled or stayed or this or that. When these things are happening, you start to see a downtick in the people in the grocery stores, the people out shopping,
Yep.
traffic even, because they're scared. They're scared about what's going to happen, even though they're here legally. They have been reapplying every year to renew their TPS. They've been doing the right thing. They've been working their tails off at work, contributing to Social Security even that they'll never even be able to collect on, realistically. But going back to the organizational impact, and as you can see, I very much care about the human side of it. So not even the organizational side of it so much, but there is real impact there. I mean, what is going to happen when all of these individuals truly cannot work after tomorrow? I hear things like, oh, there'll be more jobs for locals or citizens to apply for. That's not the case. I work in HR. I've been in HR for over 20 years. Most of these individuals, the people that are impacted, they're not in roles that other people want and can't get because they're in them. You know what I mean? It's not going to create more jobs for locals. Locals aren't going to be applying for a lot of these roles. On a separate but related note, hospitality and other industries were hugely affected with the pandemic and have not recovered ever since then. They simply haven't. And now with this, I mean, this is just going to put employers in a much more challenging situation. I know for us, we're already trying to figure out how to navigate these labor shortages because we are already experiencing them. We have been for several years now, and it's only gotten worse this last year and a half as these different waves of rulings have come out. Last year in June, when one of the first rulings came out with humanitarian parole programs, we had to lay off about 24 employees. 24 employees. And since then, do you think we've been able to fill those 24 roles with locals? No. We've had to increase our usage of contract labor because we can't find people to hire in those roles.
Do you think that it's the reason is there is no like interest in certain positions and jobs, or it's just like because there is just short of individuals, just like there is no one to apply, or it just what do you think it is? Why you cannot just fill those positions?
I think it's both. Again, I bring up the pandemic, even though at this point it's many years ago. Okay, but the pandemic changed the reality of the workforce and what people want in their lives. People don't want to work in hospitality nights, weekends, holidays. They don't want that anymore. They want to be a social media influencer, or they want to work from home. And COVID created a lot of those work from home situations for people, which is great, but it also impacted the workforce in a very challenging way as well. So I think it's a combination of things. I don't believe, at least from my perspective and the roles that I'm seeing impacted, that it's a matter of these individuals have jobs that citizens want and they can't have it because of them. No, when these individuals are removed from their roles because they're no longer authorized to work, these roles are going to sit vacant. And we're going to have to find out other solutions, whether it's through contract labor or something we're already working on. We're very pro, immigration and working with individuals from other countries and everything like that. So we have experience with H-2B, J-1, O-1 visas, F-1 visas, all
ready.
things. And so something we're doing is already increasing the number of individuals that we hire from around the world to help supplement seasonal labor needs. So we hire about 150 individuals from around the world every year, and we've had to increase those numbers because of the impact that these immigration policy changes are having on us. And that right there tells you again that we're doing that because we can't find the local individuals that want the jobs. So we're having to rely on these visa programs to bring people from other countries to work on temporary bases. And each visa allows a different length of time that someone can work for the organization. So It's like we're putting a band-aid on a situation, and that situation continues to require a bigger band-aid, until what are we going to do? And then we're dealing with visa cap issues and all of these different things. So real challenges.
Well, that's amazing. What you're saying is that these people are actually needed
Yes.
for their community. And do you think that those people who, I might just ask Erica or Tara if you want to jump in on this. Do you think that people who are making these decisions are just not seeing the whole picture?
I
What is
think that,
happening?
That's a
and
loaded
this
question,
is
Lida.
it is a loaded
I know,
question. There
I
is
know.
a a huge number of people who um, don't understand the difference. They don't understand the different levels of immigration. They kind of have taken the headline and ran with it. And I think that there are a select number of people who understand exactly what's happening and and are using that as an opportunity um, to do not very kind things. And they're okay with the big number of people who don't understand and are running with the headline.
I think this is a topic for another time. Let's not get into it because this is just, yeah, this is not what we want to talk about today. Um, One thing that I'm thinking, besides individuals and organizations, uh, there are also businesses out there that these people are running, right? This is also is going to be a part of that. So I think there's very different parts of the that probably we cannot touch upon because this is not why we're here. But I want to talk about it from a lens of a mother, maybe. This is where all women, and we could relate to that. How do you think that can affect families, children in general? The floor is open to anyone who wants to answer.
Well, as a mother, that question alone just steals my words, because I couldn't imagine my child or sibling being in the situation that so many individuals are sitting in right now, and the reality that they're facing with tomorrow approaching. You know what I mean? Their world is drastically changing tomorrow. And we have so many employees, if they're not directly impacted, they have a family member or they have a friend or a loved one that is. So in that sense, everyone is impacted on some level. It's heartbreaking. And Lita, you mentioned earlier, you asked, so they're needed, that we organizations truly need them, and the answer is yes, but it's more than a need. We want them. They belong here. Again, they came legally. They've been here legally, dedicating their lives to bettering organizations, bettering the U.S. These aren't the individuals committing crimes or jumping a fence to come into the U.S. These are good people that deserve to be here. And right now, they don't feel like they belong anywhere.
Yes, unfortunately. Um, let's see it from another angle. Do you think there is anything today with whatever that is happening that gives you hope?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
being on the
personally, I think hope, what I'm seeing is people aren't being silent. And I think people are willing to risk. This country affords us a lot of conveniences, especially if you've grown up here. When you meet immigrants, you learn their story. So I think the story is becoming more diverse, and people from all verticals of life, uh, whoever they are, in many protected classes, even within the workforce, different organizations, different um, capacities, different ways they serve organizations, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether, they're legal, they're government, they're in politics. Like you're seeing a conversation where this disruption is really about, what is the United States really about? So fear is it's turning its head to where it's prompting people to get out of their comfort zone and challenge, things that they may have believed their whole lives too, just because, with social media, with the news at this time, everybody sees it. So you
So
can't deny it.
you think Erica is someone who has lived in US and was born in US. Do you think that your perspective on the whole situation of immigration has changed over time, or you think do you think today we're more hopeful than yesterday or last year or the years before?
Well, I think
Are
we're
we going
definitely,
into a direction that is more bright? I know this today's situation is horrible. What is happening is horrible,
yeah,
but I mean from the lens of society.
I think that's going to be determined. Society is very different. We didn't, all people, I mean, I can speak for my own, this particular administration, whether, how it doesn't matter how you voted. I mean, it's not about politics, but it's because it is polarizing, it's front and center. So you can't deny it. You can't run from it. So, I think we'll see where it goes. I think that, past presidents, like former, sitting presidents, they're on, regardless of where they served on the aisle, they're speaking up, and it's not, I'm not here to scrutinize our current administration, but certainly what is important is, again, it's the information. We're painting immigrants in a majority, whether we want to admit it or not, color of their skin, the country of origin. I mean, that's what's happening. That's who's being profiled. I mean, that I've heard about. But again, the news. That's why you have to make sure you get the right information from the seat that I sit in. If I don't, do my own oversight, that's how it looks. So to educate yourself, what is really going on, and when you do that, hopefully people will be less emotionally charged, which creates reactionary behavior, which is not, going to be productive and more reflective by the information they get to really question. And hopefully it goes in the right direction. But it's scary. It's heartbreaking.
Yes, it is. I'm gonna ask a question from Sarah. I know you're an author. You've been also dealing with staff, and you've heard so many stories. Um, how do you think that, like, compassionate leadership could support employees that are affected or might be affected by this decision?
I think the best thing you can do is be authentic, show that you care, support your people in any way that you can. It can be really challenging when you're faced with a situation and you feel like words are impossible, that there's nothing you can say that can help a situation. And for a lot of people, that can lead them to stray away from those conversations, avoid them, kind of steer clear of being in that circumstance, when really, I mean, it's not even about the right words. It's just being in that person's presence, letting them know that you are there. If there's anything, whether they want to vent, cry, talk, seek advice, whatever it is, just be there. It's not about having the right words. It's just showing that compassion and empathy for someone else's experience and feelings. And yes, employers are obligated to end employment tomorrow. It's a compliance, perspective and something that we're obligated to do. But I think the best organizations understand that compliance and compassion aren't competing priorities. They're complementary, or they're complementary responsibilities. You can do both. You can be compassionate and also do what you have to do to abide by the law and what you are ordered and required to do, but still show up for the people in the best way. And I know that's what I've done. And though it feels like a helpless situation, especially when you're sitting across from these individuals, when they're crying and they're unsure and they're uncertain what's going to happen, they appreciate that you're there for them, and they can feel if you're being genuine or not. They can.
Of course. Well, thank you so much. It's a hard topic, and we promise that we're not gonna get involved with politics and the reasons behind it. And I don't know if we somehow did, but we are coaches and we are humans, and we want to just stay with the human aspect of it. We all come from different life backgrounds. We have all stories. But if someone is dealing with this situation right now and is listening to us tonight, what can we tell them? Is there any message you want to send out?
I was listening to Sarah talk about how she's handling it in the workplace, and how, that it could be helpful for people in positions like hers, or just employers, to have those conversations with the people who are experiencing it in real time. And it can be uncomfortable, like you said, Sarah. It can be uncomfortable to have those conversations, but I think that that's the only way. Lida, you talked about, is there hope? If people are willing to just be uncomfortable and hear the stories and walk through that, then yes, there could be hope. But if we continue to just, kind of buffer ourselves and, sweep it under the rug, then there's not going to be change. But there can be. We have to embrace it. I think that's going to be curiosity and a voice, like you talked about, Erica, talking about it, having conversations, doing the real research, learning the facts and keeping emotions out of it. That is going to be, I think, a challenge. That's what my challenge would be to everyone, is to hear the story, even when it's painful, and think about it. Think about it, pray about it, whatever it is you got to do with it, but look at it, and then look at yourself and what is it that I can do, even if it's something small.
Thank you so much. Erica, you want to go first?
Yeah, I would just say, for me, faith is really the framework of my life. It's the foundation. And I know there's like what Tara said about hope. And, immigration, like, we don't own, like, from a very supreme, like, hierarchy. Like, the United States is not my country. I don't own it. So I embrace, like, humanity. Like, we were created to steward the land and relationships. So if I were talking to someone who is, their whole life is being disrupted, and trepidation and fear, and where they would question, their value because of what our immigration policy, the direction it's currently in, I would just, let them know, like what Sarah said, compassion, empathy, like, you matter, your story matters. Like, you're a part of history, like our history, the global history of the beauty of humanity. And, one, administration or whatever we're trying, to achieve, to really leave them with their dignity. Right? Their humanity, reinforce the value that they bring to, they have a purpose. And this is, pain is a part of our purpose. It refines us, it grows us, it stretches us, it strengthens us. And ultimately, what it will do with the right perspective is it will align us with a greater good and a greater purpose for, the next assignment in our lives. But ultimately, listen to them, learn from them, and lead with them in mind. I would say is what I would do as a professional and as someone who is in this country.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but I think at a polarizing time like this where people feel targeted and not wanted, I think what's important for people to understand is you do matter. You are wanted. Don't lose hope. Keep striving for better. Keep holding on to that hope that something will happen, whether you're able to, change your status or gain authorization and re-enter the U.S. under different terms. There are real situations like that, though cases are moving very, very slowly right now, and the people impacted don't have options. But I would say just that: don't lose hope. Keep pushing. Keep striving to get back on your feet, whatever that looks like. Lean on the people around you, and remember that there is good in this world. There are people that care, and you do matter.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives openly, for your compassion, for your empathy. One thing that I want to share from my side is that here we're talking about people's lives. People are losing their jobs, they're losing their home. As a parent, as a mother, as a father, you're losing every everything that you've built for your children, for your family. And I think from someone who is standing outside all these challenges, maybe just asking what's happening and staying unbiased towards what is happening and seeing people as humans and what's happening to them. I think that's the least we could do. And I'm hoping anyone who's out there, either they're affected by the situation, fight. Life is gonna go on. Things might happen, but um, I hope that everything turns out to be fine for you. And for those who are in contact with anyone who's struggling with this situation, as Sarah mentioned, as Tara, Erica, just be there for them. They belong here and they're wanted, not just needed. I just want to get back to what we mentioned at the beginning. It's not about whether we agree or disagree with these policies. I think we can all agree that beyond every policy, there are human beings with families, hopes, careers, and dreams. And my hope simply today is that this conversation encourages a little more curiosity, understanding, and empathy towards each other.